Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back to some more bite-sized business advice. And today we are talking about getting rid of your ego, breaking down your ego and being more curious around people, which is something nobody in the whole wide world knows how to do. We all have too big of an ego. So we'll see how this episode goes over. I don't know. We're going to get a lot of hate comments. So just be prepared, type them up in advance and be ready to put them down below. We're excited to read them. But I have a very special guest with me who we're gonna break this down for you with, and her name is Catherine McCord. Catherine, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so very much for having me. I am stoked because this is one of my favorite topics.
Why is that? Why is this your favorite topic?
Because it not only changed my career, it changed my life. It just exponentially changed my life to actually learn this skill and learn how to better communicate. And so I just like sharing it with everybody because I think it's fantastic.
Talk to me about that, because the career piece, I could see how it spills over into your life, but at what point in your career, like what was going on and what happened to make the shift and become more aware of, putting your ego aside?
So, so I kept having this issue before I was an entrepreneur, right? And before I started doing consulting and international speaking and all this, I had a problem in my young career with that people were just adamantly against doing things in better ways. And that made zero sense to me. I'm like, oh, but I just showed you how this is more efficient and saves us time or saves us money. And why wouldn't you want to do it this way? And this kept happening all the time because one of my gifts is that I'm really great at processes and procedures and improving them. And so this just kept happening. And I kept thinking, why? So internet gets better and better and better. And I started doing a lot more research on the topic. And I found out about this little thing that every single human on earth has. So nobody should feel bad about this. Everybody has an internal defense mechanism that is designed to protect the brain. So the brain needs to be correct in order to function highly, right? That's what tells it that it's safe. And what's called the ego mechanism, if something is contrary to what your brain already thinks, that reads as not safe. So the ego mechanism, in order to keep your brain feeling safe, throws up defenses, right? Even against all reason, it just throws up defenses so that you will feel safe and not go into fight, flight, or freeze. The problem is that in today's world, the fight, flight, or freeze often still comes out, and we still get a lot of stress hormones with all of this. You can look this up. This is very easily accessible, by the way, and information. And so this is a very stressful thing. Well, that's what's causing that issue I just called it. What you're saying is different from how I do it. What you're saying is different from how I think. So it is wrong. Our brain is reading that as incorrect, but it's not inherently, right? And sometimes even something may be wrong for us, but it's not wrong for that person, right? So maybe somebody else needs to work differently than us. Maybe somebody else needs to function differently. So Hewlett Packard had a whole program where they just approached with curiosity and they created universal design, which I know we'll talk about in a minute, which just means you design more fluidly and so that everybody can have what they need. And their team became 33% more productive, more innovative, happier and healthier. It just works. So that's kind of how I got into all of this. I really taught myself how to do it. I now help teach other people how to do it. It's part of how I consult. It's part of how I help build businesses. Curiosity changes everything.
I fully agree. And that's kind of the secret sauce to how we do what we do. I mean, you see it behind me. There's a giant lit up upside down question mark. Curiosity is the basis to every great discovery on the planet ever.
Right.
But what I don't understand is that we know that, you know that, everyone listening to this podcast knows that. And then we go out into the world and it is a binary world. It is either
Yeah.
right or wrong. It is left or right. It is yes or no. And we just immediately guard up, and
Yeah.
we filter things. We don't even filter things. We just say, nope, disagree. That's wrong. You're an idiot. And you say mean
Yep.
things on the internet.
Yep. And
So
but you can
again,
train yourself out of that. You can't, because
yes,
that's
that's
an
what I want to
automatic
know how to do.
defense. It's automatic. Like you
Mhm.
shouldn't feel bad necessarily that that's what you're doing. It's inherent in our nature as humans. However, it's not overly productive in this type of society. And so it makes more sense to learn to turn it off and to say and to shut that down. So, I taught myself very simply, what's called a grounding exercise. It's extremely basic, where basically I can, tap my finger, tap my foot on the floor, and I have programmed in my brain, it takes like 5 minutes to do that. That means that I'm safe and that I can do what I need to do. And that shuts down the stress chemicals and shuts down the ego response in the brain. And you can actually feel your body start to relax. And then you just ask a question or get curious or learn. And then what's interesting is that your brain starts to default to that. Your brain starts to default to, I want to learn more about this. I don't understand this. I need to probe this, right? I need to come to understand this. And so, because you're right, it's not natural. Like we consciously know that we're not the center of the universe. Like if you ask somebody, does the world revolve around you? They'll say no. But their brain thinks differently. Their brain thinks that everything out there is like them. So if somebody says something, this is what they meant, because that's what I would mean if I said that. If somebody does this action, this was the intent, because that would be my intent. And there's just all of these assumptions, or we assume something because we read it once ever. And so now we've assigned that to everyone else who ever does that thing or says that thing. And so, and there's nothing wrong with recognizing patterns, but you need to be pattern to be broken. That's kind of the difference there.
That makes complete sense. And it's very clear to see how this could destroy a workplace culture, a team environment, and obviously it needs to be fixed. So when we are taking this first step, I mean, what is the first step? Is it really to train yourself with those pattern interrupts? Or is it something else? Because we need to get on the path of curiosity. And I think it's probably harder in the workplace, if I had to guess, because you are, at least in the outside world, if I go out on the street or if I go get coffee in line and I order something and the person behind me orders something different, we're two different people. We happen to converge at the same coffee shop. It's easy to think that we're different, right? But in the workplace, we have that in common. Like we're on the same team. We're in the same company. We're part of this culture. So to disagree there seems like it could be a more violent disagreement, because we should be in agreement, right? So what the question is back to, what is the first step and how do we go about bringing this to our workplace culture?
So number one, you have to, and it's harder at the top, right? And it has to start at the top.
Mm-hmm.
You have to accept that your way is not the way.
No, I can't do that. I just can't do that.
No, you just lost me, Catherine. That's it. But the truth is, what works for you does not work for all humans. That's it. Like outside of things like breathing, we all have different needs. Okay, it's really, it's a completely different experience for everybody, and how everybody needs to function naturally is very different. And so if you put the focus on taking care of your people and making mission alignment, so I teach everybody to bring us back to mission alignment. So our mission at our company is to make XYZ, or to rid the world of cancer, whatever it is, whatever your mission is, right? And so if everything comes to the mission, then that's what matters. And how we get there doesn't matter. So if somebody needs to do something differently from you, who cares? As long as it's still feeding the mission, right? So keep everything hyper mission focused. Step one, mission focus. Everything comes back to the mission. And so this is how I shut people down when they come back to me. Oh, well, we can't change this process because blah, blah, blah. I said, is that process the mission? No. Then it can be changed. It can be adjusted, and it's okay. There's like a legality or something, right? That makes things have to be a certain way. Flexibility. Who cares? And it also de-stresses you, by the way, to start thinking this way. It's like, oh my God, I don't have to stress out about all these little things. It's okay. As long as the mission is happening, we're okay. So mission first. Then yes, you do actually have to teach yourself how to off that ego mechanism to respond in curiosity. And it does not take long. It literally takes minutes. I teach people how to do this. Typically, the entire process takes 15 minutes. And then but then you have to practice it periodically, right? So then you schedule little practices, the little touch-ups, and pretty soon it's perfectly natural. And you just focus every conversation around responding and curiosity, universal design, which is, again, just designing for everybody, right? So then if somebody comes to you and says, this doesn't work for me, then it needs to change. And it's very simple, at least for that person, right? Maybe not for everybody, but at least for that person. So learning to mission focus, and then actually, taking the steps. That's it. And then just deciding that it won't be another way. So if somebody is refusing to respond in curiosity, that person has to go. And as you know, we discussed this before the show. I'm very pro firing people that don't belong that no longer belong in the organization. And the truth is, if somebody is not mission aligned, so if one of your missions is inclusion, if they're not inclusion aligned, they've got to go. If somebody is not aligned with stopping cancer, that'd be really weird. But if they're not, then they've got to go. So if they're not mission aligned, and if they do not believe in the ethics and integrity of your organization, then they do not belong there and they need to go.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. I want to touch on the universal design piece because I want you to elaborate, because on the surface, it could sound confusing, designing for everybody. And
it sounds big, doesn't it? It
right,
does.
it sounds big. It also sounds impossible. But then you also bring that mission alignment piece in, which I think is crucial, because I'll give you an example. This is a very controversial example, and it just is what it is. But if you have a culture where we want to educate people, and then we say we're also going to put litter boxes in bathrooms because other people think that they're animals. I don't know if we really should design for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, am I off here, or where's that fine line?
So first of all, that never actually happened. I don't know where that story got started, but it's been debunked. So that's not a thing. So totally, it's a very funny example. To use. So here's what I tell people. Designing for everyone still stays within the realms of reasonable accommodation. Okay, reasonable. Right?
Good word to
so
highlight.
Yeah, so it's important to keep in mind is reasonable is the thing. But designing for everyone is actually very simple from its base concept. So again, this is common practice in the IT world now. It's growing as common practice, so it's not impossible. And what you do basically is you design it to be simple. Simple is actually the best way to do this. So don't make too many rules about something, because then you've done something that's going to jack with somebody, right? Don't make your procedure too specific, because then some piece of it's not going to work for someone. So keep it general. So for instance, if you're building a procedure to onboard an employee, right? Something every single company is going to have to deal with. What you want to do is, first of all, I changed accommodations into standard options, because Department of Labor teaches us that 54% of accommodations are free. So why aren't we just supporting people and working in ways that are natural? And accommodations can be for different learning styles. It can be for just personal preference. Have to be for a disability, okay? Or I shouldn't use air quotes, for a legal disability, right? So just have that built in. What do you need, right? Go back to that Hewlett-Packard example that increased productivity 33%. What do you need? How do you want to work? What works for you? So have that built in. Go through it that way, and that will tell you, how does this person need to be trained? Because if you try to teach a visual learner through yakking at them, they won't learn anything, right? So this just helps you figure out how to do it. But if you built it in and said, everybody is going to have to listen to an 8-hour lecture, most of the people aren't going to, yeah, exactly. See how you're shaking your head, and people aren't going to learn that way. So keep it simple. So just say everybody needs to have training on these things. How the training happens is flexible. So that's universal design. Keep it simple and keep it flexible. Very, very easy. And it's funny because I get asked a lot about inclusion, because again, HR, right? I do a lot around HR and inclusion. And well, what if people need different things? What if this Christian person doesn't feel included because of this, what this Muslim person's doing? I'm like, all right, let's break this down. It's inclusion, not infliction. Okay. So this person over here has the right to pray. This person has the right over here to pray. What we do not do is make everybody pray the same prayer. That's what we don't do. So inclusion, not infliction. That's the difference. And I use Maslow's hierarchy a lot when dealing with employee relations concept, right? So you have that kind of pyramid. If people don't know, it's an established a psychological concept of you start with the base needs, physiological, then safety, then belonging, then blah blah blah. It goes self-esteem and then advancement. And you want to move people up the pyramid. But when you're trying to figure out compromise, you start at the bottom at the physiological needs and then work your way up.
Yeah. As you were talking though, the image that kind of came to mind, which is again kind of counterintuitive to what most people say, but it makes complete sense. When we used to go on vacation when I was a kid, my dad would always plan the day down to like the minute, and we get like an itinerary because just to keep everything organized. And I was
Right.
just like, can we just say like Tuesday we go to the beach? And that's
Yeah,
kind of the
right.
difference, right? Is like when you're onboarding somebody, you don't say we're gonna go to the beach from 9 a.m. to 9:16 a.m. and then take a sip of water and then go in the like
Yeah, that's too
just like
much.
can we train them on these principles today? Is that kind of a visual way of
Yes,
thinking
that
about
is
it?
exactly it. Just keep it simple and mission focused. We need to onboard this person and they need to know XYZ, right? So that's the mission. How we get there is flexible. It's very, very easy.
I love it. This is such an important conversation, and it's obviously a two-way street. But that being said, do you see a greater impact from somebody just choosing to lead, a leader, a business owner, a CEO, executive team? Do you see a bigger impact from them at least displaying it first and then opening the door to the conversation, or does it have to be like, no, this is the new policy of ego subjugation?
I really think it's as simple as, hey, we want to have a better, not only better culture, but we want to have a better workflow. And we want to be healthier and more productive. And so we want to make some changes and here's what we're thinking. And then listen to what they say. Again, curiosity. How do your people feel? Be ready to answer those questions. Explain what you're going to be doing. We're going to make everything more simple. Yay! We're going to make things healthier for you. Yay! Because when people can work in ways that are natural, they are healthier. That's proven. You can look up multiple studies about that. And so I think it's really just as simple as we want to make your life easier and healthier. No easier way to get by than that.
Who doesn't want that? I love it. Catherine, this was awesome. Such an important conversation, like I said, and I really do believe in it. It's just easier. Life is easier if you don't have to fight with people all the time. For those of you who do disagree, please put it in the comments. We're happy to fight with you because it'll be fun.
Why
and it'll
not?
get
Let's
this
push for
video
it.
to more people, which is what we want. Catherine, thank you so much for being here. Where can people learn more about you?
They can find me at titanmanagementusa.com, or they can go to my speaker site, which is kmccordspeaking.com, or they can find me on LinkedIn. I'm all over the place.
Fantastic. I put at least your website on the screen. All of that will be in the show notes down below, wherever you're watching or listening. Catherine, before I let you go, we have one very important question. Again, I highlighted the obnoxious question mark behind me. We believe that powerful questions get powerful answers. So in this concept of putting your ego aside, creating a better workplace culture, a better understanding for everybody around you in your work and your life, what is a powerful question you want the listener to ask themselves until they get that powerful answer?
What matters more, your ego or your mission?
That's a good question. Don't ask it when you're angry, but that is a very
Yeah, don't ask it when you're angry. Healthy mindset.
That's awesome. Catherine, this was great. I hope a lot of people disagree with you and me, and they put hate comments down there so more and more people hear this episode. The people who need to and want to hear this episode, I love it. For wherever you're watching and listening, let us know what you think. Try it out. That's my encouragement to you. Try this out. Respond with a question, not an emotion, and make sure you subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch, where we help you build your business 5 days a week with these episodes.